the full weight of Gambia's role as host nation for Ecowas 1990 began to be evident as heads of some of the 16 member states arrived at Yundum Airport. First to sample the hospitality of the new airport VIP lounge was Sierra Leone's President Joseph Momo, who undertook the mission despite internal rumblings of discontent back home. He was whisked with full motorcycle escort to his residence, the Kairouba, Gambia's latest tourism spectacular. Built at a cost of over £10 million, the Kairouba is one reason President Jawara agreed to host this year's summit. It is the country's first truly five-star hotel and is situated in 15 acres of landscaped garden at the heart of the tourism development area in Kaloli. Among its 116 units, the Kairouba offers 3 presidential suites, complete with state-of-the-art communications, one of which President Momo will occupy during his stay.
New to me. It's brand new Excellency, Guard of Honor mounted by the Gambia National Army, 145 men and officers formed up in open order, ready for inspection.
Gambian dignitaries, including ministers and members of the diplomatic corps, duly waited for the arrival of Burkina Faso leader Captain Blaise Compaoré, who, as outgoing chairman of Ecowas, was perhaps the most important guest. As a military man, he enjoyed the salute from the Gambia regiment before going on to shake hands with local personalities. An influential figure over the past year has been Mrs. Bintou Sanogo, Burkinabe Minister of Finance, whose assertiveness as chairperson of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers is being cited as a factor in the revitalization of the 15-year-old organization. She was present a full week before her head of state arrived to chair preliminary meetings and set the agenda for the summit. As leader of the biggest and most influential French-speaking West African state, Félix Houphouët-Boigny of Côte d'Ivoire was expected to attend. But a rebellion by recruits in Abidjan, as well as serious unrest in the capital, meant he could only send his Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Simeon Aké. Minister Aké nevertheless received a full welcome from President Jawara.
First passport many years before it was accepted. Yes. Fine. When I was appointed foreign minister, first.
Téléphone alors il y a téléphone, il y a pas.
David.
Oui, alors il y a Bob.
Comment s'appelle David?
Le corps, il y a lui.
Oui. Ah oui.
Et puis il y a notre grand consul. Alors il y a
All arriving dignitaries were treated to a colourful show of traditional music and dancing. Groups representing Ecowas citizens living in the Gambia put on cultural shows both at the airport and at the Kairaba. According to Gambian Agriculture Minister Omar Jallow, who chaired the Social Reception Committee, it was a triumph for the mass mobilization philosophy that motivates Gambians on such prestigious occasions. A welcome arrival at Yundum Airport was Nigeria's head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida. Nigeria is arguably the most important member of Ecowas, having as it does the greatest economic and resource potential in the sub-region. Some may remember that it was Nigerian General Yakubu Gowon, as head of state in 1975, who lobbied successfully for the setting up of the community. In recognition of this fact, the Ecowas Secretariat is based in Lagos, where the instruments of the Ecowas Treaty are lodged. believe that the decision by General Babangida to attend personally, despite foiling a coup attempt just weeks before, demonstrates Nigeria's firm commitment to the community.
No. Get out of that line. Get a shot and go back. Get a shot and go back.
Yes, that's no problem. Sometimes it's better not to say it. Mark, did you?
An interesting feature during this year's gathering was the absence of military uniforms as usually worn by heads of state. With the exception of President Jawara, all the heads of state in attendance are military leaders. This avoidance of uniforms is as strong an indicator as any that with the alarm bells being rung by the wind of change sweeping through Eastern Europe and the threat of Africa being alienated by a post-1992 single European market, Ecowas members must get rid of all old-fashioned notions of sovereignty and create a peaceful climate for economic union.
Sajjara wala anala tarawale. Nyaja bang kokang. Nyaja bang kokang. Kala bang kokang. Ya bismillah. Madmo kaya bismillah. Ya tuafi. Ya bismillah. Mambo bakakira baro le ano. Ya kambia jetu. Ya mwana kiliki. Ya mwana kiliki.
Pour le grand patron.
Contrary to popular opinion, Ecowas 1990 did not begin with the arrivals of heads of state. 10 days before the summit, Ecowas fund officials and ministers discussed the financial and administrative position of the organization, and foreign ministers met for the first time in recognition of the fact that political will is imperative for economic integration to succeed. Work on the new Cairo Conference Center had barely finished as invited guests gathered to witness the opening ceremony of the 13th meeting of the authority. Dignified among their number was Alhaji IBM Garba Jahumpa, who as Gambian Minister of Finance was instrumental in the original coining of the acronym ECOWAS. Alhaji Jahumpa, who names such luminaries as Nkrumah and Kaunda as his political contemporaries, is living testimony to the fact that ECOWAS has a future. The fact that only 7 of the 16 heads of state were seated at the dais was most agreed misleading. All member states were represented by high-ranking delegates at a time when political problems were at their peak. One casualty of internal turmoil was Liberia, whose representative failed to make the opening. Nevertheless, Economic Planning Minister Elijah Taylor acted on President Day's behalf during the closed sessions.
Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Messieurs les chefs de délégation, Messieurs les représentants des organisations internationales et interafricaines, honorables invités, nous allons donc démarrer avec quelques minutes de retard la cérémonie d'ouverture de ce 13e sommet. Une cérémonie qui sera essentiellement consacrée à des allocutions. La première allocution sera celle de bienvenue du président de la République de Gambie, Son Excellence Président Yawara Kairaba.
Mr. Chairman, my dear brothers and colleagues, Your Excellency the Vice President, Honorable Speaker, my Lord Chief Justice, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished delegates, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, privilege for me to welcome you all to the Gambia to the 13th session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States. The government and people of the Republic of the Gambia as a whole are honored by your presence and very grateful for the choice of Banjul as the venue of this important summit. I wish first of all to avail myself of this opportunity to pay a special tribute to the Chairman of Ecowas, His Excellency Captain Blaise Compaoré, President of the Popular Front, Head of State and Government of Burkina Faso, for the exemplary manner in which he has presided over the affairs of our community over the past year. I have been deeply impressed by your noble courtesy, coupled with modesty and wisdom, qualities as rare as they are desirable in a statesman. Above all, it was your devotion to community matters combined with a strong determination to get the community to move ahead, which inspired us most and provided a much-needed impetus to all of us. May I also seize this opportunity to express my deepest appreciation to my other colleagues and brothers for their presence at this summit session, which coincides with the 15th anniversary of our community. We are also most grateful to all other heads of state and government who have not found it possible to be here with us, but who have graciously sent us messages. We are really inspired by their messages, and we extend our sincere gratitude to them all. Mr. Chairman, it is often said that history repeats itself. Perhaps it is true, as some events of great historical significance have a certain way of recurring. I could not help recalling the euphoria and the high expectations that marked the signing of our treaty, setting up the community, exactly 15 years ago today. Your Excellencies will also recall that our community was born just after the beginning of the first major oil crisis. In addition to the negative and disastrous effects of the oil crisis, some member states experienced at the time the full impact of the region's longest and the most persistent drought. It will also be recalled that the optimism that surrounded Africa's economic prospects in the 1960s, that decade of hope, the first decade of independence, was soon replaced in the mid-1970s by increasingly poor economic performance in many of our member states. Major economic and social indicators were beginning to show sharp deterioration, and the future appeared gloomier than ever before. It was against this background that we were all determined to begin the arduous and challenging task of ensuring the integrated and harmonious economic development of our sub-region. Mr. Chairman, although a lot has transpired over the past 15 years, the problems confronting our states today are colossal and more pressing than ever before. As such, our august body should neither be carried away by its achievements nor allow itself to be too depressed by its failures. Rather, we should be pragmatic in the assessment of our past performance. There have been mistakes, opportunities have been missed, and the community has had its teething problems as we endeavor to work and live together after having been separated for so long. However, on occasions such as this, we must not lose the opportunity to look back and to draw the necessary lessons from experience as well as inspiration from past achievements. I appeal, therefore, that we resolve on this 15th anniversary of our community to find further and, if necessary, radical means of laying the foundations of a new, revitalized, realistic, and effective integration process. I am convinced that we are still inspired by the potential contributions which Ecowas is capable of making to our region's socio-economic emancipation. Mr. Chairman, a look at the evolution of community cooperation will reveal at least one clear trend: the growing politicization of the region's integration process. It must now be clearly accepted that the ultimate decision in regard to increased economic cooperation is political rather than economic. If we are to take our destiny into our own hands, there is little or no time left for vacillation and indecision. In order to move away from the decade of declarations of good intentions on economic unity to the necessary but sometimes risky realm of choice, responsibility, and action, we must now be prepared to make initial concrete commitment in terms of resources and hard political decisions. It is true, Mr. Chairman, that the control of the regional cooperation process has always remained firmly in the hands of the authority. The authority must therefore establish a realistic integration process that takes into account the current realities. It must also ensure that its decisions are carried out effectively. In order to achieve this, the existing ambiguities on the role of integration must be removed. Nowhere else in the world could a call for a higher degree of collective action be more justified than in our region. But our recent preoccupations with comprehensive forms of regional cooperation seem to run parallel to the latest trend. There are strong arguments in favor of more specific and selective approaches to integration. If our community is to record real progress, there is definitely an urgent need for selectivity and streamlining of its activities. It is generally believed that the Ecowas objectives as laid down in Article 2 of the Treaty of Lagos are too wide. Indeed, to the extent that if we are to succeed in our efforts, we ought to adopt a priority approach based on according a resource preference to certain specific areas. The community has done so in the past, and the significant improvements in the road and telecommunication links between some member states are proof of the success of this policy. We cannot achieve much and have something to show for Ecowas if we spread ourselves too thin. Mr. Chairman, another vitally important issue that is closely related to the integration process, and which will certainly tax the statesmanship and negotiating capabilities of our member states, is the need to rationalize and restructure the sub-regional economic institutions dotted around the region. Our concern for the continued usefulness and effectiveness of some of these institutions should be supported by a readiness to take firm action on proposals for the coordination, harmonization, and/or integration of their activities, including, if need be, the dissolution of some of them. The existence of such a large number of diverse organizations may be a sign of vitality and an affirmation of the need for regional integration. The problem, however, lies in the fact that some of these organizations have overlapping memberships and functions. This naturally leads to the duplication of effort and to inefficiency at a time when member states face serious problems of arrears in their contributions. I therefore hope that the several intergovernmental organizations and Ecowas will intensify their efforts to agree upon a new realignment of functions. There is no doubt that Ecowas could eventually provide a framework for many of their cooperative activities. I believe the amalgamation of our physical, institutional, educational, and research facilities and a well-thought-out cooperative venture to develop and expand the productive capacity of member states would provide a more sustainable basis for integration. Mr. Chairman, you will agree with me that we have no alternative to economic integration and therefore no alternative to Ecowas. This is all the more so. This is all the more so that we are meeting at a time of unprecedented change in world events. Trends and events that seemed unimaginable even a year ago have today become accomplished facts around the world. New and extensive forms of cooperation are rapidly being explored and set up, and new partnerships are emerging all over the globe. These recent developments portend remarkable changes in the nature of our relationships with the international system. More importantly, these developments call for a change in the manner in which the affairs of the community are handled in the last decade of this century. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to note that one of the points we shall be considering deals with the relationship between West Africa and Europe after 1992. The greatest threat of Europe 1992 to Africa will be in the vital area of aid and development and investment. There is increasing concern that the opening up of Eastern European countries and the advent of a different Europe in 1992 will foster greater economic cooperation among European countries with less attention to developing countries like our member states. In the final analysis, Eastern Europe may relatively offer more attraction to foreign investors because of proximity, the availability of a large pool of skilled labor, cultural and even climatic affinity. The need has therefore become more urgent for us to strive together to revitalize and reorientate our cooperation efforts. It will be difficult, if not impossible, for individual member states to deal with a united, strong Europe. Europe 1992 will certainly pose adjustment problems to the economies of member states, as indicated in the UNILAG Consult study that was commissioned by the Ecowas Secretariat. But we should not overlook the possibilities it also offers. One could perhaps realistically envisage a situation where ECOWAS negotiates collectively with external forces, and as a result of these negotiations and policy dialogues, collectively implement plans for the agricultural and industrial development of the entire sub-region. Although the strengthening and deepening of the adjustment problem through a regional integration encompasses many areas of activity, it can be seen that trade is the logical starting point as well as a natural focal point. New initiatives should promote factor mobility and the free movement of goods and services within the member states. In a bid to squarely face the challenges envisaged with the emergence of the single European market, I wish to call upon all heads of state of our community to resolve to increase trade among ourselves by at least 20% over the decade, to pursue domestic economic policies that promote intra-ECOWAS trade and adopt economic adjustment policies that dovetail with those of other member states of the community. The external debt problem, Mr. Chairman, which confronted our states in the mid-80s is another issue of great concern to the community. It is still with us and continues to threaten the development of our region. We are all aware that the situation is grave and calls for urgent responses to alleviate it. It is my ardent hope, Mr. Chairman, that the authority could endeavor to adopt a common strategy towards the external debt crisis. Dear brothers and colleagues, distinguished delegates, permit me now to welcome you once again to the Gambia. We hope you'll forgive us for any shortcomings in our efforts to make you comfortable. It is our hope, our fervent hope, that this meeting will be fruitful and the decisions taken will be in the best interests of the citizens of our community. Long live ECOWAS, long live African unity.
Excellences, Monsieur le chef d'État, Monsieur le chef de délégation, Monsieur les ministres, Monsieur les représentants des organisations internationales, interafricaines, chers invités, avant donc de vous livrer le discours d'ouverture, en quelque sorte quelques pensées pour enrichir le discours admirable de son Excellence le Président Diawara, je voudrais, en votre nom, remercier le président de la République de Gambie, le peuple gambien. Je voudrais surtout saluer ce discours qui vient de passer, qui interpelle les peuples et les États de la communauté à renforcer notre politique, notre volonté politique en faveur de l'intégration de la sous-région. Je vais donc à présent vous livrer le discours d'ouverture de ce 13e sommet en tant que président de la conférence des chefs d'État de la CEDEAO. Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement et chers frères, Excellences, Messieurs les chefs de délégation, Mesdames, Messieurs les ministres, Messieurs les secrétaires exécutifs de la CEDEAO, Excellences, Messieurs les ambassadeurs, Messieurs les représentants des organisations interafricaines et internationales, honorables invités, Mesdames, Messieurs, je voudrais au nom de la conférence des chefs d'État et au nom des peuples de la CEDEAO saisir cette occasion pour vous exprimer à vous personnellement, Monsieur le Président de la République de Gambie, ainsi qu'au gouvernement et au peuple gambien notre profonde gratitude pour l'accueil chaleureux et la généreuse hospitalité qui nous ont été réservés depuis notre arrivée dans cette ville de Banjul, si pleine d'histoire. Nous vous sommes également reconnaissants pour l'excellente organisation qui a été faite pour ce sommet, ainsi que les moyens mis à notre disposition qui, j'en suis sûr, contribueront grandement au succès de nos délibérations. Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État et chers frères, il ne serait pas juste si je n'exprimais pas à tous mes sincères remerciements pour l'appui et la collaboration que vous m'avez apportés et qui m'ont permis de conduire avec aisance les destinées de notre organisation sous-régionale voilà bientôt un an. J'ai été particulièrement encouragé par la détermination dont ont fait preuve tous les États membres dans la mise en œuvre des actes et décisions de la communauté. Cette attitude a raffermi notre conviction que la CEDEAO est une organisation viable, dont la préoccupation principale est le développement socio-économique de la sous-région de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Au début de ce mois, j'ai été honoré par l'invitation de mon cher frère, le général Ibrahima Bandamassi Babangida, président et commandant en chef des forces armées de la République fédérale du Nigeria. En effet, j'ai effectué une visite de travail de 2 jours au siège de notre communauté. Outre le renforcement des relations bilatérales entre les 2 pays frères, nous avons consacré l'essentiel de nos entretiens aux activités de la CEDEAO. Si nous avons constaté que des progrès considérables ont été réalisés par notre organisation depuis le dernier sommet de Ouagadougou, nous avons cependant reconnu que beaucoup restait encore à faire pour exécuter dans un délai très court les objectifs que s'est assigné notre communauté. Ceci est particulièrement vrai, surtout au plan du respect des engagements pris par chacun des États membres vis-à-vis de la communauté. Depuis sa création, le 28 mai 1975, la CEDEAO, consciente de ce qu'elle peut apporter à une Afrique de l'Ouest intégrée au plan économique, s'attelle à la recherche des voies et moyens susceptibles d'intensifier les échanges commerciaux intracommunautaires, de développer les infrastructures de transport, communication, de promouvoir entre ses membres une coopération fructueuse dans les domaines agricoles, industriels, énergétiques et monétaires. Nous demeurons convaincus que, ensemble, dans le cadre de cette structure communautaire qu'est la CEDEAO, nous réussirons à juguler tous les maux qui constituent des freins à la réalisation du mieux-être de nos populations. Les efforts à entreprendre doivent tendre vers une grande prise de conscience de la nécessité d'assumer notre communauté de destin en dépassant progressivement le cadre national limité pour celui d'ensemble économique plus vaste. C'est ce que d'autres parties du monde ont compris et tentent de réaliser. Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État et chers frères, il est particulièrement opportun de rappeler ici que suivant un programme bien établi, la communauté économique européenne, partenaire privilégié de notre sous-région, se prépare à constituer un marché totalement intégré en 1992. Entre les États-Unis d'Amérique et le Canada s'instaure une zone de libre-échange. En Asie, en Extrême-Orient, se forment de nouveaux blocs économiques. Les différents processus d'intégration initiés ça et là doivent nous interpeller et nous pousser à nous unir et à renforcer la coopération sous-régionale.
The Executive Secretary of Ecowas, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me once again to address you on this memorable occasion of the 13th Summit of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of Economic Community of West African States, commencing today in this peaceful city, Banjul, the capital. The city of Banjul, famous for its hospitality, sunny and beautiful beaches has long provided a salutary environment and an aesthetic haven for tourists from all parts of the world. Let me begin. Let me begin by thanking and congratulating my brother and President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Alhaji Sadar Jawara. The entire people and government of the Republic of the Gambia for hosting us at this session of the authority. I am particularly impressed by the excellent arrangements and facilities put in place to guarantee our comfort and effective interchange of ideas and brotherhood. This is indeed a practical demonstration of your commitment towards the promotion of sub-regional integration. And to all of you, my dear brother presidents and colleagues who are here today, I warmly commend you for honoring the invitation to attend this summit despite your tight schedules and urgent state matters. This is a further testimony of our determination to uphold the principles and ideals of Ecowas. Indeed, this development augurs well for our organization. I would also like to congratulate His Excellency Captain Blaise Compaoré, Chairman of the Popular Front, Head of State and Government of Burkina Faso, for successfully piloting the affairs of our organization during his tenure of office. You will no doubt agree that it requires a great combined intricate state matters with no less complex and vast Ecowas issues which often require urgent attention. Our brother was able to do this impressively during his chairmanship of the authority. Dear brother heads of state and government, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our 13th summit is holding at a very crucial time. The first year of the last deleterious challenge developing in the international economic environment. I noted at least 4 aspects of those challenges. One is the large fiscal and trade imbalances, particularly those of the major industrial countries, the volatility of international financial market, protectionism in the industrial countries, and the unresolved world external debt problem. The stiff competition which developing countries, especially those in Africa, would face from the newly industrialized nations. The economic reorganization now pervading Europe, and the drive towards economic liberalization in Eastern Europe. Although not fully clear, then I observed that the changes underway in Europe presage in all probability a greater European economic and superpower in the making. It was in recognition of the seriousness of these challenges that we unanimously mandated the
In the name of the government and people of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and on my own personal account, I bring to Your Excellencies and distinguished delegates sincere fraternal greetings. Mr. Chairman, my dear brothers and colleagues, may I extend our sincere thanks to His Excellency Alhaji Sadar Jawara, the government and people of the Gambia, for the warm and brotherly hospitality extended to me and my delegation since our arrival in your beautiful capital. It is appropriate that we should be meeting in the Gambia this year, a country with an enviable record in sub-regional cooperation and solidarity. As an elder statesman and one of the founding fathers of our organization, President Jawara has always demonstrated his unswerving steadfastness and unshakable commitment to our community. We look forward to his continued wise counsel, particularly at this time when member states must take certain bold and courageous decisions if our organization is to be able to cope with the challenges that confront us. I also extend to His Excellency Captain Blaise Compaoré, Chairman of the Popular Front, Head of State and Head of Government of Burkina Faso, for the devotion and commitment with which he has carried the onerous task of directing the community's affairs during his tenure of office. We commend him for the sincerity of purpose with which he addressed the affairs of the community. To the Executive Secretary and his colleagues in the community institutions, I offer our thanks for their work over the past year. I am confident that they will continue to show the same dedication and devotion to duty in the year ahead. Mr. Chairman, economic progress and the integration of our sub-region can hardly be realized in a situation of political instability and conflict. In certain ways, our region clearly demonstrates the situation. If Ecowas is to make any meaningful progress, the stability of our national political systems must be guaranteed from external interference of any nature. We must resolve to be each other's keeper in the realization that each one of us is vulnerable. Today it may be one of us, tomorrow it may be someone else, for none of us is immune from the winds of political turmoil. Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are in Banjul for a few days. However, let these few days be wholly productive of the sort of decisions that will be of benefit to the well-being of our people. The economic integration of Europe is instructive in the collective movement of nations to advance the cause of their societies and peoples. The economic integration of our region must be our clear objective. I thank you all.
Da Gâmbia, os nossos mais sinceros agradecimentos pelo acolhimento caloroso e fraterno que nos dá. Constitui para nós um motivo de prazer encontrarmos de novo nesta bela cidade de Banjul, usufruir da sua tradição ancestral de hospitalidade. Queria aproveitar esta ocasião para transmitir através de si, Sr. Presidente, as saudações fraternais do povo da Guiné-Bissau, do povo alemão da Gâmbia. Sr. Presidente, Excelências, Senhores Chefes de Estado, a senhora nossa organização oferece-nos sempre a ocasião de proceder a um balanço e refletir conjuntamente sobre o futuro da nossa sub-região e definir o quadro das ações futuras a levar a cabo, com vista a uma integração económica efetiva e real dos nossos Estados. Os nossos compromissos políticos de criar há 15 anos o espaço económico necessário à instauração da comunidade exige de nós, hoje mais do que nunca, uma solidariedade efetiva e coordenada que nos permita associar de maneira harmoniosa os nossos meios de desenvolvimento. Para que possamos fazer face às mutações profundas que se verificam no mundo, torna-se de suma importância reconstituirmos-nos numa força suscetível de influenciar positivamente os acontecimentos orientando-nos para os objetivos definidos pela nossa organização. Esta realização dos nossos meios de ação deve efetuar-se com o objetivo de se proceder a uma avaliação completa e global da situação política e socioeconómica, conducente a uma aplicação correta e corajosa das medidas preconizadas pelo Plano de Ação de Lagos para o decênio de 90, sobretudo as relativas à realização dos planos objetivos da Comunidade Económica Africana.
Merci au président Bernardo pour sa contribution éloquente à la réflexion que nous menons pour le renforcement de l'esprit communautaire. Nous passons la parole à son Excellence, Monsieur le ministre des Affaires étrangères et de la coopération de la République togolaise.
Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Messieurs les chefs de délégation, Messieurs les ministres, Monsieur le secrétaire exécutif de la CEDEAO, Monsieur le directeur général du Fonds de la CEDEAO, Messieurs les membres du corps diplomatique, Mesdames, Messieurs, je voudrais vous donner lecture du message spécial que le président de la République togolaise, son Excellence, le général Gnassingbé Yadima, que j'ai le privilège de vous présenter ici, adresse à la conférence. Je cite: au moment où s'ouvre dans la belle capitale de Banjul la 13e conférence ordinaire des chefs d'État et de gouvernement de la CEDEAO, c'est un grand plaisir que je me fais d'adresser aux chefs de gouvernement et aux chefs de délégation, au nom du peuple togolais, au nom de mon gouvernement et en mon nom personnel, nos très vives et chaleureuses félicitations. Nous voudrions exprimer notre profonde gratitude au président Daouda Jawara, au gouvernement et au peuple frère de Gambie pour l'accueil particulièrement chaleureux et fraternel réservé à la délégation togolaise, ainsi que pour les nombreuses et excellentes facilités mises à la disposition de la conférence.
Au président Yadima, membre fondateur de la CEDEAO, et surtout un homme qui a consenti beaucoup d'efforts pour non seulement la survie de notre communauté, mais aussi son renforcement. Nous passons la parole au docteur Diebré Beran, secrétaire général du groupe des États d'Afrique, des Caraïbes et du Pacifique, ACP.
Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Messieurs les chefs de délégation, Messieurs les ministres, Messieurs les ambassadeurs, Monsieur le secrétaire général exécutif, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est avec un sentiment de profonde et respectueuse gratitude que j'ai reçu l'aimable invitation qu'au nom de l'illustre conférence des chefs d'État et de gouvernement de la communauté économique des États d'Afrique de l'Ouest, le secrétaire exécutif, le Dr Abbas Boundou, a bien voulu m'adresser. Je suis sûr, Excellence, que vous comprendrez le mal que j'éprouve à dissimuler la pointe de légitime émotion qui m'étreint, puisque c'est la première fois que l'occasion m'est offerte de m'adresser aux honorables pères fondateurs de la CEDEAO, artisans avisés et inlassables de la paix et du meilleur devenir des peuples de la sous-région ouest-africaine.
Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, aux distingués participants à cette 13e conférence, honorables invités, avec cette allocution prend fin la cérémonie d'ouverture. Nous sommes sensibles à ce message de solidarité de pays parfois très éloignés de nous, Caraïbes, Pacifique, mais très proches de nous, au plan du destin, au plan de la lutte que nous menons ensemble pour notre survie. C'est dire donc qu'à votre nom à tous, nous allons renouveler notre amitié au peuple gambien, aux autorités de la République de Gambie, au président Jawara, pour cet accueil très sympathique, pour cette hospitalité débordante de chaleur à Banjul ici. Et pour les délégués à cette conférence, nous allons nous retrouver cet après-midi à 16h pour la poursuite des travaux. C'est 16h, hein? On va pas changer.
Staff at the Senegambia Beach Hotel, which is twinned with the Kairouba, were on overtime throughout the junket as they strove to run operations at both sites. To provide a welcome break to the grueling deliberations heads of state were experiencing, the Gambia government called on all the skills of the Senegambia staff to host a state banquet, poolside. The sight of a decorative fountain of Gambian Sipa Sipa, bronze, met guests as they arrived to be seated around the pool. Billeted at high table, the leaders, including General Lansana Conte of Guinea, resplendent in white gown, and Mali's Traore in brilliant blue, were serenaded by cultural troops and the Gambia police band during their lavish meal.
No, no front. We are very unlucky today. Very unlucky. Bad thing. You can speak English, sure?
Assalamu alaikum, Baba Gida. Idile yake. Najiri yangu pemoni yarilla. Assalamu alaikum. Luna yetenda nafa. Masa kini ba atoni masa kalanke. Wale najira numa mandibela. Gambia kama sadauda kaira wajawara. Musola nyimekena. Nizonga na ninjuguso. Jamaje giro. Kairawa. Iwande kairawa jawara. Iwande yokore yadia. Ala yetonya tikile de manda. Sadauda salamu alaikum.
Banjul qui, bien sûr, va marquer une étape importante pour la vie de notre communauté, parce qu'ici, nous avons trouvé un grand peuple qui est habité par un esprit communautaire. Nous avons trouvé ici donc un accueil très sympathique, très africain. Nous avons trouvé ici des conditions excellentes pour le travail. Et au cours de cette cérémonie, nous allons donc faire le point de nos délibérations. Nous allons donc porter à votre connaissance les conclusions heureuses auxquelles nous sommes parvenus pour la vitalité, une vitalité plus grande de notre communauté. Une rencontre qui nous a permis de gagner davantage en foi en notre communauté, malgré les problèmes qui nous assaillent de toutes parts, malgré cet environnement international très hostile. Cette cérémonie donc va comporter deux grands chapitres. Il s'agira dans un premier temps du communiqué final et ensuite le discours du président en exercice de la conférence nouvellement élu. C'est donc dire que nous commençons par ce communiqué final qui va vous présenter ces grandes conclusions très importantes pour la vie de notre organisation.
Dear Mr. Chairman, I shall now read the final communique of the 13th session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, which met in Banjul from the 28th to the 30th of May, 1990. The Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States held its 13th ordinary session in Banjul, Republic of the Gambia, from 28 to 30 May 1990, under the chairmanship of His Excellency Captain Blaise Compaoré, Chairman of the Popular Front, Head of State, Head of Government of Burkina Faso. Present at the summit were the following heads of state and government and or their duly accredited representatives. His Excellency Captain Blaise Compaoré, Chairman of the Popular Front, Head of State, Head of Government Burkina Faso. His Excellency Alhaji Sadauda Kairaba Jawara, President of the Republic of the Gambia. His Excellency General Lansana Conte, Chairman of the National Military Redemption Committee, Head of State and President of the Republic of Guinea. His Excellency General João Bernardo Vieira, President of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, Secretary General of the PAIGC. His Excellency General Musa Traoré, Secretary General of the Democratic Union of the Malian People, President of the Republic of Mali. His Excellency General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His Excellency Major General Joseph Saidu Momo, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Honorable Aliou Mahamidou, Prime Minister representing the Head of State of the Republic of Niger. Honorable Theophile Nata, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation representing the President of the Republic of Benin. Honorable Adriano de Oliveira Lima, Minister of Public Works representing the President of the Republic of Cape Verde. Honorable Simeon Ake, Minister of Foreign Affairs representing the President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire. Honorable Dr. Obed Yao Asamoah, PNDC Secretary for Foreign Affairs representing the Head of State of the Republic of Ghana. Honorable Dr. Elijah E. Taylor, Minister of Planning and Economic Affairs representing the President of the Republic of Liberia. Honorable Hashmi Udidi, Minister of External Affairs representing the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. Honorable Sedina Umar Sy, Minister of Foreign Affairs representing the President of the Republic of Senegal. And Honorable Yaovi Adodo, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation representing the President of the Togolese Republic. Attending the session as observers were the following: the Secretary General of the ACP Group, the Executive Secretary of the West African Clearing House, the President of the Federation of West African Chambers of Commerce, the President of the West African Development Bank, WAD, the Secretary General of the Conference of Ecowas Ministers of Youth and Sports, the representative of the Secretary General of the Organization of African Unity, the representative of the Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa, the representative of the President of the African Development Bank, the Vice Governor of the Central Bank of West African States, the representative of EcoBank, the representative of the World Bank, the representative of the Islamic Development Bank, the representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, the representative of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, the representative of the West African Economic Community, CIO, the representative of the Food and Agriculture Organization, and the representative of UNDP, the representative of UNICEF, and the representative of the Pan-African News Agency. West African economic situation and the development imperative. In reviewing the economic situation in West Africa, in terms of trade and the heavy debt burden have disrupted national development programs and brought about the lowering of living standards. Member states were demonstrably manifesting a strong determination to address the structural causes of the crisis through their commitment to the pursuance of the Ecowas Economic Recovery Program, the Lagos Plan of Action, long-term objectives of the reform programs with long-term development imperatives in order to ensure sustained and durable economic growth. Recent events on the international economic scene, particularly changes which were occurring in Eastern and Central Europe and increased economic cooperation in Western Europe, culminating in the 1992 single European market, were bound to have profound effects on the West African economy. The authority was convinced that taken individually, the economies of the sub-region were extremely fragile and uncompetitive, and would therefore not benefit fully from the possibilities open to non-EEC countries in the Common Market of Europe 1992. The heads of state and government therefore reaffirmed their pledge to strengthen and revitalize Ecowas in order to ensure the development of West Africa. The authority adopted a common residence card for all community citizens. This card gives community citizens the right to reside in the territory of any member state of the community. In order to facilitate the free movement of community citizens throughout the community, the authority urged each member state to print and issue to its citizens, without further delay, the Ecowas travel certificate goods. The convention aims at ensuring that interstate road transit of commercial goods is covered by a single guarantee from the customs office at the port of departure to the customs office of destination. Convinced that free movement of persons is a fundamental basis for community building, the authority adopted a supplementary protocol on the implementation of the third phase, right of establishment of the protocol on free movement of persons, right of residence and establishment, and urged all member states to expedite the ratification of this protocol. ECOWAS Monetary Cooperation Program. The authority reaffirmed the commitment of the community to full monetary integration. The authority reviewed the level of implementation of the Monetary Cooperation Program adopted in 1987 and approved a timetable for the implementation of measures to achieve by 1994 the creation of a single monetary zone as envisaged in the Monetary Cooperation Program. The authority mandated the Executive Secretariat, in collaboration with the ECOWAS Committee of Governors of Central Banks member states, to ensure adherence to the timetable and prepare annual progress reports on the implementation of the program for consideration by the authority. Rationalization of institutional arrangements for economic integration in West Africa. The authority recognized the urgent need to rationalize the large number of intergovernmental organizations in West Africa. In this context, the authority decided that there shall be a single economic community in West Africa for the purpose of interregional integration and eventual establishment of the African Economic Community envisaged in the Lagos Plan of Action. In order to achieve this objective in the quickest possible time, The authority called on every member state to adopt and implement all necessary measures to strengthen and consolidate ECOWAS with the aim of making it the sole economic community in West Africa. Member states were therefore urged to pay their contributions promptly, ratify all outstanding conventions and protocols speedily, and effectively implement all community acts and decisions. The Executive Secretariat was directed to prepare a flexible and pragmatic scheme of rationalization of integration efforts in the sub-region, including practical modalities and a timetable for implementation. The changing international economic landscape. The authority took note of the rapidly changing international and political landscape that was redrawing and redefining international relations. It commended the study commissioned by the Secretariat on the possible effects of Europe 1992 on West Africa and stressed that the most appropriate strategy and solution that the community and its member states should adopt in relation to the new challenges posed by these changes was to demonstrate a greater commitment to immediate implementation of community acts and decisions as a means of strengthening the West African economy and enabling the sub-region withstand the adverse effects of Europe 1992. The authority called on member states to consult among themselves more regularly and harmonize their approaches to and strategies for dealing with all international economic issues with a view to adopting a common front and enhancing their negotiating position. For this purpose, the Executive Secretariat was directed to take all necessary measures to ensure the establishment and effective functioning of a sub-regional consultation mechanism. The authority further directed the Executive Secretariat to continue to monitor and evaluate the implementation of the Single European Act and propose the necessary adjustments to ECOWAS cooperation programs in the relevant sectors in order to take account of the effects of Europe 1992 on the community and its member states. Review of the Ecowas Treaty. Considering the dramatic changes taking place on the world scene and the need for the community to modify its own strategies with a view to accelerating progress in the integration process in the sub-region, the authority mandated the Executive Secretariat to set up a committee of eminent persons in the sub-region, both within and outside governmental circles, to undertake a review of the Ecowas Treaty with particular reference to the legislative powers of the authority, the financing of the budgets of the institutions, and the decision-making procedures of the authority and the Council. The Executive Secretariat should endeavor to report to the decision-making organs as early as practicable. Lagos Committee of ECOWAS Ambassadors and High Commissioners. The authority took note of the report of the first meeting of ECOWAS foreign ministers and adopted its recommendations. It recognized and approved its establishment, the establishment of the Committee of ECOWAS Ambassadors and High Commissioners in Nigeria, and requested the committee to work with the Executive Secretariat in furtherance of the aims and objectives of the community. International support of West African development. The authority reviewed the inadequate support given by the international community to Africa under the UNCTAD against the growing economic recovery and development needs of the sub-region. The authority noted that recent global events, especially the dramatic economic and political changes in Europe, will increase the marginalization of the countries of the sub-region unless specific measures were taken to safeguard West African interests. To this end, the authority made an urgent appeal to the international community and to the EEC and its member states in particular to appreciate the serious development challenges facing West Africa and provide adequate support to supplement the economic recovery and reform efforts of West African states. Establishment of a standing mediation committee. The authority expressed concern over the incidence of disputes and conflicts among some member states, which have had a disruptive effect on normal life within the member states concerned and on the smooth functioning of the community. Recalling the provisions of the Protocol on Non-Aggression of 22nd April 1978, and with a view to ensuring that peace and harmony reign within the sub-region, and encouraging the amicable settlement of interstate disputes, the authority established a standing mediation committee. The committee shall be composed of the member state, which is the current chairman of the authority, and 4 others. The composition of the committee shall be reviewed every 3 years. The authority decided that for the first triennium, the committee shall be composed of the chairman of the authority, the Gambia, Ghana, Mali, Nigeria, and Togo. Revision of coefficients of contribution by member states. The authority approved a new set of coefficients of contribution by member states to the budgets of the institutions of the community. It decided that these new coefficients shall come into force from 1st January 1991. The authority also decided that in accordance with the provisions of the Protocol on the Budget of 1976, the coefficients of contribution should be reviewed every 3 years. Ecowas Information Policy and Program. The authority took note of the first meeting of ECOWAS Ministers of Information. The authority also noted with satisfaction the decision of the Council of Ministers to take steps towards the adoption of an ECOWAS information policy and program. The authority, stressing the important role of information in the sub-regional integration process and the need for a more organized system of gathering, processing, and disseminating information in the sub-region, directed the Executive Secretariat to expedite action on the formulation of the proposed community policy and program. The authority urged member states to promote the transmission and exchange of news and programs on ECOWAS. In this regard, each member state should ensure that with immediate effect, its official media, press, radio, and television devote part of its news content to highlighting in a positive manner the activities of ECOWAS, its member states, and institutions. The private media should also be encouraged to do likewise. Each member state was called upon to adopt and strengthen the teaching of ECOWAS in the curricula of its educational institutions. Private sector entrepreneurs should also be encouraged to invest in the media industry and in the manufacture of goods for use of information and telecommunications. Measures for non-payment of financial contributions. The authority adopted measures to be applied against member states who are in arrears of contributions to the budgets of the community institutions and the capital of the Ecowas Fund. Ratification of conventions and protocols. Noting that not all member states have ratified all protocols and conventions, as was decided at the Ouagadougou summit last year, the authority urged the member states concerned to complete the ratification of all outstanding conventions and protocols, not later than December 31, 1990. The authority directed the Executive Secretariat to report to all member states on the status of ratification by 31st January 1991. The situation in Liberia. The authority expressed its concern over the current situation in Liberia, reaffirming the provisions of the Protocol on Non-Aggression adopted on 22nd April 1978. The authority called on all the parties concerned in the conflict to agree to an immediate cessation of hostilities and to put an end to the unnecessary destruction of life and property. Acknowledging the announcement by the government of Liberia of its intention to call early elections, the authority appealed to all the parties concerned to accept the holding of elections in order to return the country to peace and harmony among its citizens. The African child. The authority adopted a resolution on the survival, protection, and development of the African child. Allocation of the post of external auditor. The authority noted that the term of office of the external auditor would expire on December 31st, 1990. The authority approved the recommendation of the Council of Ministers and allocated a post of external auditor to the Republic of Mali, which was requested to nominate 3 firms, one of whom will be recommended by the Council of Ministers for appointment by the authority. Election of chairman. The authority elected the Republic of the Gambia as chairman for the year The authority elected the Republic of the Gambia as chairman for the year 1990-1991. Date and venue of next meeting. The authority accepted the kind invitation of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to hold its 14th session in Abuja on May 28th. Vote of thanks. The authority warmly commended and congratulated the outgoing chairman, His Excellency Captain Blaise Compaoré. Chairman of the Popular Front, Head of State, Head of Government of Burkina Faso, for successfully piloting the affairs of the community during the year 1989-1990, and for infusing a sense of dynamism in the process of implementation of community acts and decisions. The authority expressed its sincere gratitude to His Excellency Alhaji Sadauda Kairabara President of the Republic of the Gambia, and to the entire Gambian government and people for the very warm and truly African welcome extended to all delegations, and for the excellent facilities made available to ensure the success of its meetings. Done at Banjul, this 30th day of May, 1990. I thank you.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, après donc ces heureuses conclusions, nous allons passer le flambeau à notre cher frère, le président Diawara, et nous féliciter de ce qui a été donc obtenu comme acquis pour notre communauté au cours de cette conférence. Et dit toujours sa disponibilité d'être aux côtés des autres pays frères pour la construction de notre communauté économique. Donc nous passons donc le flambeau à notre frère qui a déjà une expérience au niveau de la CEDEAO et nous serons avec lui pour donc contribuer encore plus au renforcement de nos acquis en matière d'intégration économique.
All 16 countries. And Ecowas pays for all of them.
My dear brothers and colleagues, Your Excellency, the Vice President, the Honorable Speaker, my Lord Chief Justice, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished representatives of international organizations, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I wish first of all to express my profound appreciation to the authority of heads of state for the honor and trust reposed on me and my government in once again electing the Gambia to steer the affairs of our dear community. The government and people of the Gambia as a whole are deeply honored, and on their behalf I extend sincere gratitude for the privilege and honor accorded to us. Permit me, dear brothers, to once again express our sincere gratitude to our colleague, President Blaise Compaoré, community over the past year. I would also like to seize this opportunity to congratulate my brothers and colleagues for a successful session here in Banjul, for I am convinced that the decisions taken here today are in the best interests of our citizens. Our deliberations have indicated that a lot of effort has been made over the past decade and a half to put integration into fruition. You will agree with me, however, that these genuine efforts notwithstanding, very little progress has been registered in our strong bid to achieve effective and tangible integration within our sub-region. The major historical events of the world today, such as the emergence of economic blocs in North America, the Pacific Asia, the reforms in Eastern Europe, as well as the rapid technological advancement, are added compelling factors for our sub-region to accelerate its integration process. The disappointing experience of the past 2 decades further suggests that Africa in general, and West Africa in particular, need to alter the economic structures inherited from the colonial regimes if faster and closer economic cooperation is to be achieved. We are rather concerned that Ecowas should not simply become another forum for expression of pious hopes and aspirations. Ecowas must be seen as an instrument for development. I need not remind distinguished delegates that per capita income in our member states are still the lowest in the world. And colleagues, President Ibrahim Babangida made a proposal during this inaugural ceremony that merits consideration and agreement. I am referring to his proposal to set up an ECOWAS permanent mediation committee. As a region characterized by poverty, we cannot afford to use our scarce resources to destroy life and property. We owe it to our people to use our scarce resources to improve their living standards instead. Therefore, I lend my full support to the proposal, and as chairman of the authority, I intend to work relentlessly towards the attainment of the objectives of the committee. I now have the honor and privilege to declare this 13th session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government ECOWAS closed. To declare this 13th session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government ECOWAS closed.
As ECOWAS 1990, the overriding impression was that the community must make strides forward or risk the future of the sub-region's 200 million inhabitants. According to experts, the package of resolutions as read out by Executive Secretary Dr. Abbas Bundi heralded a new era of action for ECOWAS in the coming decade. Gambia's role in ECOWAS has been enhanced by the election of President Jawara to the chair for the second time. This means Economic Planning Minister Mbemba Jatta is now chair of the Council of Ministers. President Jawara's first task is to bring peace to Liberia as head of the new Standing Mediation Committee, so the Gambia can look forward to a year of furious activity at the helm of a newly aware West Africa.
faut bouger.
fan du ma ne sax président réew mi yëpp lay wax waaye ànd ak góor gi fay capitaine ndeysaan dégg ngeen nit ñi bu ñu yegg see nga seet seen tànk yi nga xam ne moo di tànk ndeyjoor